How can I start my own business with no money? I've actually done this multiple times and helped dozens and actually hundreds of people do this. We're going to go through and I'm going to give you 3 specific ways that you can get it done. As entrepreneurs and business owners, we know that if we have a clear plan, anything becomes possible. And if you can have a clear plan, a clear process to create that plan, and a way to create clarity with your partner or spouse, you can drive to amazing heights. All right, so I started my first of 16 companies when I was 19. I have built them, bought them, sold them, and unfortunately wrecked a couple. I've helped, I don't know how many hundreds and hundreds of companies. I've got some that we've gone from entrepreneurial all the way to billion-dollar market caps. And people are always like, well, I want to start my own business, but I don't have the money. Well, I'm going to help you with that. There's a few different ways you can do it. It has never been easier or safer to start a business than it has been now. Than it is now. It's really, really easy to start one with little or no money. But it's going to depend on the type of business, and it's also going to depend on how much you're willing to work and how much research you can do in advance. People say, hey, Kluver, you're a big risk taker. You've had all these companies. I am not. To me, something that's risky is a place where my loud mouth and colorful adjectives can get me fired. That would be scary. But when I start a business, there is a risk, but it's usually a calculated risk. And I've gone through and it's become a no-brainer for me. In essence, I have invested so much time and energy that I am ultra confident that I'd be an idiot not to leverage it up. So my first book, Aspiring Solopreneur, that we actually have a whole course at aspiringsolopreneur.com, can help you go through and build and vet this process. And it'll be the best money you spend as far as making sure that you're safely figuring out, defining what success looks like for you, building an amazing team of advisors, refining the product or service you're offering, and then how do you very safely and candidly, with no concerns, transition into that new level. Now, we talk a whole bunch about this in this channel with all these other videos, so please check out some of the other videos, see what else is out there. But the 3 primary ways that you can get started and build a new business without any money or very little is once you've gone through and defined who you are, where you want to go, what amazing looks like, and the business or service you want to start. Well, one of the easy areas is when you're doing the research, and we talk exactly about how to do the research and how to find the people and where to go. But when you start moving forward, one of the things is going to be interview others who are doing what you do. Now, this may sound counterintuitive. Oh, they're going to be competition. They don't want to talk to me. Nah. For most entrepreneurs, the most beautiful sound on the planet is the sound of their own voice. So if somebody says, hey, tell me about your business, I'm curious, let me know what you're doing, great. And I can't tell you how many times I've suggested this to people. They start going down that road, and then they find out that maybe one of the entrepreneurs they're talking to, business owners, yeah, they're doing this stuff, but I do this stuff over here, but I don't really like doing it. I'm kind of sick of it. And you're like, wow, I'd love doing that. It may be the kind of thing that right off the bat, they say, well, you know what, Joe, if you want to do those things, tell you what, I'd subcontract it out to you. Meaning that they may have the contract to do it, but they don't really want to execute it. So they'll say, hey, look, I'll contract with you to do these things. And they may even set you up and fund you if you need some basic materials or other tools or whatever it may be. I've seen this a lot in so many different ways, from services to even small and light manufacturing. And with this is where finding that right relationship and say, yeah, I'm happy to, I'll subcontract those things out to you. Now, you may not get as much margin. You may not get as much money as you would because they're taking some for running the deal. But if they take 20% and you're getting everything else and it's getting started and gets you up and running, holy smokes, that's a no-brainer. That's an easy win. So that's one of the first ways that you can start a business with no money. The second is, as you're doing the research, another thing is we talk to people who could potentially be using our services. We're not selling them. I want to hear what they say. If we were able to do this, would you have interest? Who should I talk to? Things like that. And it'll lead to conversations and they'll refer you to people. And again, we tell you exactly the questions to ask in here. But as you go out and start talking with other people, they may say, yeah, you know what? If you do that, I'd love to use your services. Now, you may be the first one, so it's like, I'm going to want 20% discount. Or maybe they don't want discount at all. Who knows? But This is one of those areas, and it doesn't always work this way, but it can work this way, is if they have a strong enough financial position, sometimes they'll pay for it in advance. I know that sounds crazy, and we're going to talk about that one next. But a lot of times, if you have that contract, you can say, hey, I have this contract in this hand that says I'm going to deliver this product or service, and I'm good at delivering the product and service, and this is how I do it in this hand. You can then take those two things and go to the bank. Now, not always, but sometimes if you have enough collateral or other things behind you that says, all right, this guy's willing to pay you 20 grand and it's going to cost you 5 grand. All right, and we're going to get you started here. So what are the pieces we need for compliance, for insurance, for those other pieces? Who knows what those are? But it may be a way that you can easily transition, and the bank will say, yeah, I'll give you money. Now, people say, well, that's not possible. That's bullshit. It is. It's changed, particularly in the real estate world. You have to have some money in there. You have to have skin in the game. But in the past, I did multi-million-dollar deals where I had $10,000 down as an earnest money to control a piece of dirt. I did a pro forma. I did a lot of legwork, so it wasn't free from my time, but I did a lot of legwork, and the bank said, yeah, this is going to be worth more. We'll pay for the whole thing without putting any money into it. Crazy, but it's possible you can do those things. Now, another way of looking at it, if it's a really small business, maybe you have a contract in this hand, and you have the ability and skills in this hand, and you've gone through and built an entire business plan that's pretty comfortable. And again, check out all the other videos on this channel. At a minimum, then maybe it means that you can go and talk to your spouse or your partner and say, hey, here's what I'm looking to do here and go here. And therefore, I know I don't want to put money on a credit card because it's 16% or 18 or 24%, but I do that and it's only going to be for a month, and then I'll have enough cash flow to get it started on these other ends. Or maybe a home equity line of credit or things like that. So there's different ways of resourcing it to where maybe you need the money, maybe you don't. Now, the last thing is the idea around possible payments in advance. What this is sometimes if you have a good relationship, maybe it is with a subcontractor, maybe it's with a company that you have a previous relationship with, and they say, yeah, you know what, Kluver, I love what you do. This is great. It's getting towards the end of our year and we still have a little bit of budget left. We'd like to give you the money in advance for next year's services. Sometimes they do that, they want a discount. Other times they don't. I actually have multiple clients who pay me in advance for a year in advance, even though I don't have contracts. And I charge a lot of money. But the point is that finding those areas, figuring out what is that service, what is that niche you're doing, is a way that sometimes you can do that. Sometimes, if you're starting a lawn mowing business, you may say, hey, look, I'm going to charge you $50 a time to come mow your lawn, but if you pay me for the first 3 months in advance, I'll give you 20% off. Something like that. But there's ways that you can use those services to help get started and drive those things down the road. So that gives you 3 different ways to look at how you can start a business with no money. Now, if you have questions, you're welcome to reach out at aspiringsolopreneur.com. Please consider going through and doing the course. It's some of the best money you can invest if you're thinking about starting a business. Deciding when not to do a business is the most important thing you need to learn. It's not how to be successful, but when you know it's successful, you know it's a no-brainer. So please subscribe to the channel, share it, and again, thank you for investing the time. Keep smiling.